everybody, it's the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I'm Randy, and I work for the Fat Man.
And we're here today to talk about a movie called Thunder Alley from 1985.
That we are, JD, that we are. Why don't you tell the folks what the movie's about?
The movie is about four guys who get together to form a band. Hijinks ensues. One of them overdoses and dies, and everything falls apart, and then they come back together at the end.
Yeah, that's the movie. Thank you for joining us this week on the Cannon Cruisers.
Yeah. If you've seen a band movie, then you know the plot to this movie, because that's the plot to the movie. There's no real wrinkles in it.
It's actually five people.
Oh, yeah,
in the band.
Five. I almost forgot Skip. I can't forget Skip. Leif Garrett himself.
So this movie is, as we made it sound, as by the numbers as you can get it.
Yep.
The cast consists of two best friends from a small town, Richie and Donnie. Richie played by Roger Wilson, and Donnie played by Scott McGinnis, a name that's familiar to me, but I haven't had time to check to see who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows their rise as a band called Magic, which consists of them, with Richie on guitar, Donnie on keyboard, Skip, played by Leif Garrett, lead vocals, and Butch and Wolf. Butch played by Phil Brock, and Wolf played by Brian Cole.
Bass and drums. Always the least important members of every band.
And other than that, there's just a token love interest played by one Jill Sholin. I can't say her name. Skolin, maybe. I can't pronounce her name.
Give it a few more tries.
Schoelen.
So if you can spell it out there, please tell Randy how to spell it.
And finally, the most important part to me in this whole movie, their manager, the Weasel, played by the esteemed Clancy Brown.
You thought he was going to say Pauly Shore, I bet.
The manager's name is the Weasel.
Clancy Brown, who was definitely, I thought, the best part of the movie.
So, here's a clip from the trailer.
Yes, here's the trailer clip.
If the dream is music, then the place is Thunder Alley.
Rock and roll!
I hear you play guitar.
You're the best damn guitar player in town. You should be up there. This isn't a country and western band.
He can rock and roll, and you know it.
You are gonna sit in with us.
You got the talent to go places, and I can help you get there.
You're good. Really good.
You play the music, and I do the talking.
And we're back with more discussion on this film. So, Randy, why don't you give us your general impressions?
It's a fairly by-the-numbers rock band movie.
Yes, it is. But Cannon didn't do any of these, so it's a little different for us on this show, because we haven't actually covered a movie like this. The closest we came to was one of Randy's favorite movies, The Apple. How do you think that compares to The Apple, Randy?
That has to wait for the actual reviewing wrap-up portion, but yeah, just general impression movie was just simply that it's extremely by the numbers.
Yeah, it is by the numbers.
That's it. What's your highlight of the film?
Clancy Brown, definitely. I thought, because of the way he was set up, and because, well, if you know Clancy Brown, anything he's played, he's always the bad guy. The way he set him up in this movie is he's the manager, and he's no nonsense, and he always gets to the point, but there's scenes where you get the idea he might betray them at some point, but he's the only person who actually doesn't betray them at any point.
So you're saying that he plays Clancy Brown in this movie.
But he's always the
surprisingly
bad guy.
Young Clancy Brown. He
Yes.
was in his 20s in this movie.
Yes, and he surprised me, because every time I've ever seen him, he always looks the same, regardless if you saw him 20 years ago or if you see him today. He
is ageless.
Yeah. He
is ageless. And I would have to agree, the highlight for me is the performance by Clancy Brown. It's just the character's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. It's just another Clancy Brown type that he plays.
But it's interesting, as I said, seeing him as not a villain, because it adds more to his character that way. He was a lot of fun to watch every time he came on. I also enjoyed the music. It was fun. Mostly the actual band music by the main characters, because there was
by Magic.
Yeah, by Magic, because Surgical Steel was kind of generic hard rock stuff, and
just to fill you in, Surgical Steel was the rival band run by the Fat Man.
And there was also some other music by other bands, which was not really a patch on either of them, which says something.
So this leads us into our lowlights, and I would have to disagree with you. For me, one of my low points of the movie is the music. It's so it's unmemorable. It's forgettable. It's bland, generic, 80s rock.
Yeah.
There's no grip to it. There's nothing that pops into my head. Not to.
They're indie bands. They're not supposed to be giant arena rock bands. That's the point. They're supposed to be growing as a band, and that's what they sound like.
But these are the songs that are supposed to be making everybody go, oh my god, they're going crazy over his ballads, and it's just, I'm like, oh okay, it's another one of these. Oh well.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what you like, because as I said, I thought it worked for what they were going for. My low light would be Donnie's character arc, because I don't like that character arc. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, there's always a point in these movies where there's a character that gets hooked on something, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or women, or I don't know, whatever, PCP. Then all of a sudden they overdose, and one of two things happens. They either get kicked out of the band and it causes the whole thing, or they die and it causes the whole thing. And I don't like that arc because it's always the same, and it always ends up ending the story in the exact same place, and that's exactly where this movie headed. I don't like that.
That ties into more or less of like my review of the movie, is that what you're saying, it's just a trope of these rock movies, rock band films. And for me, this film is just a competent, by-the-numbers rock film that hits every point. You have the small town guitar virtuoso. I can't say the word right now. I can't speak right now, people. Yes. I'm sorry. You have his kind of lecherous best friend who's hard rocking, hard drinking. You have the perfect girl next door. And her friend is a little bit more...
And the jerk singer.
And a jerk singer.
If you've ever seen The Commitments, you know what I'm talking about there.
Oh, if you want to talk about a great band movie, The Commitments, oh my god.
Yeah, The Commitments is a great movie, but even that one, like I said, had that same trope, only they didn't have the drug trope, which is the one I don't like.
The thing The Commitments had better music.
Well, of course it had better music. It was a soul movie.
So, but that's... We digress.
Yes.
So... It's like I said, it's just a competent film. There's nothing that blows you away. But this, I'm going to do a callback here. In the rating for Randy of a weekend afternoon type of movie, if it was on TV, you know what? I might sit down and watch it.
That's exactly what I felt like when I was watching it.
It's like I'm not going to seek it out ever again. I'm not going to go purchase it. But the movie, like I said, it's just competent. There's something comfortable in a competently made. Mediocre generic film like this.
I wouldn't watch a movie, for instance, like Rockstar, which is the same thing as this, but I would watch this over Rockstar because it's much more comfortable to watch. Rockstar is just too in your face, and that's my problem with a lot of these types of movies. When you do these cliches, you can either do two things. You can either be genuine about it, like this movie was, or you can be in your face about it, like those movies
There's
are.
a third one.
Oh, yeah, ironic is the other one.
No, not ironic.
I hate that.
There's the send-up of it. The Dewey Cox story is probably the best send-up of this genre.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a parody.
Yeah, that's a parody, and it's an excellent send-up of it. So, score-wise, it's like I kind of go back to forth. Like, within 15 minutes, I knew roughly where my score was. It's just, I'm trying to figure, it's like, I'm going to have to give it a 3. Just, it's like, it's not, I don't want to give it a 2. It's not awful. I didn't really like the film, but at the same time, it's the fact that it's competent. The fact that I would watch it if it was on TV at some point in an afternoon while I'm doing something else. Yep.
That's pretty much the definition of a flat 3 for me. Not any higher, not really any lower.
It's actually kind of moves towards me for like the mid 2 to 3 range, but it's a 6 out of 10. It's that type of a movie. It's not going to blow you out of the water, so it's a 3.
Nothing about this is going to blow you out of the water, unless you've never seen one of these types of movies before, and you could do a lot worse than this one.
Yeah, you could do a lot worse than this one. Like movies like The Apple, which shares a similar structure, but is done as a rock musical.
Yeah, this one is not as bad as The Apple is.
So with that sentiment out of the way, yeah, I think we're done. There's not really much you can say on the movie other than everything was competent. The acting was okay. There's no real standouts to it other than Clancy Brown playing Clancy Brown.
Since we're not really going to talk about any more of these types of movies, I'm sure, because they're all pretty much the same. If I were to recommend anybody watching this to watch another one, there's this obscure movie from the 90s called Bandwagon. There's Kevin Corrigan in it from Grounded for Life. He was the uncle in that show. If you ever come across that one, I recommend watching that. We're probably not going to cover it here because it's so difficult to find, but if we're talking about these types of movies, and we probably won't be talking about it again, I just like to bring it up. Seek that one out if you can. That's an interesting movie.
For my recommendations, like when I think of a good band movie, I think of The Commitments. I think of Eddie and the Cruisers.
I was thinking more along these types of lines, only, better. But
Though Eddie and the Cruisers is more of a cult classic, it's not like a perfect movie.
Not Eddie and the Cruisers too?
Oh, that movie's just bad. But also, but it's from a discussion we've had off camera. So bad that it's good because you can see they're trying to be genuine about doing the movie.
About it, yeah.
And that's it. I'm Randy.
And I'm JD, and we'll see you next time.
And we work for the Fat Man.
We work for the Fat Man.
And we are the Cannon Cruisers.
Goodbye, everybody.